You have two coming up. What are you talking about?
Okay, but we got Expendables coming out.
I hate to break this to you. You're the guest.
I know, but it's more interesting.
Where's the casting, right?
Exactly. You say that again. What
So
do you
we have
have
Expendables 4 coming out on
Expendables.
September 22nd, I think.
Yes, September 22nd, my brother's birthday. September 20th. Expendables 4 with Stallone and Jason Statham and who else in that movie? Megan Fox?
50 Cent.
50 Cent?
Megan Fox.
Yes.
Oh,
Dolph.
yeah.
Dolph Lundgren?
Always one of my favorites.
Yes.
I've seen the trailer a couple of days ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
See?
It's out.
And she sees nothing. Hey everybody, Kurt Wimmer guesting on the pod today. Here he is, not this one, this is Kurt Wimmer. That's Ekaterina, this is Kurt Wimmer. I'm Greg Lindsay. And Kurt is one of the most prolific screenwriters working today in Hollywood. Let me just say some of the people he has written scripts for. And you know this, if you want to say it for me, but I'll say it for you. But you got Angelina Jolie, you got Jason Statham, Colin Farrell, Gerard Butler, Jamie Foxx. I can go on and on. Christian Bale. I can go on. Dustin Hoffman, Pierce Brosnan. I mean, we can go on and on. And then the movies, we got Salt, Keanu Reeves. Yes, we have Street Kings with him. We have Thomas Crown Affair, 2 movies with Colin Farrell, in The Recruit with Al Pacino that you wrote, and also in Total Recall.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. He's written so many movies, he's forgotten of the movies he's written. Welcome, Kurt Wimmer.
Thanks. I'm more than a screenwriter, though. You know that, right?
Well, yes, you're a filmper, you're a director, you're a producer.
Tantric
sex expert. Self-proclaimed, yes. I remember she's like, what is this sex-proclaimed person?
The most interesting
Yeah,
part.
all of a sudden she perks up. It's like, hey,
wait a minute. We're getting heavy there for a second.
Exactly. Okay, well, Kat, since you're Russian, we're going to start asking Kurt questions about the movie Salt, which starred Angelina Jolie.
Yeah, and I have a question. How was it like to work with her?
Well, that's really the only relevant question. So I appreciate that. So she jumped the shark on you there.
She did.
Yeah.
Listen, it was interesting. All of these big stars are interesting in their own right. They're all different, but in some ways they're all the same, but they're all relatively unique creatures, which is why they're stars. But I'll just tell you the most interesting thing about her was, which has nothing to do with work. I went and spent a few days with her in Mirabel, in the winery, her and Brad, at the time they were married. That's right. Yeah. It was in Aix-en-Provence. And they had a winery down there, Mirabel. I believe they still owned it in part, if not entirely. And it was just a sort of rambling, very, it's like a 17th or 16th century chateau that they had. And it was very interesting because it wasn't rehabilitated like you might have thought it was, like with modern appliances. No, actually, it's been about 100 years since anybody did any work on it. And so it was very interesting in that regard. But I was there with my director, Philip Noyce, and my producer, Lorenzo Bonaventura, and we'd spend all day talking to her outside at these long picnic tables where they had a lot of cheese and wine from the winery. And so that was interesting. And it was sort of she's very intense is the point. And we'd talk and talk and talk, and we'd be on one side and she'd be on the other. And the interesting thing is that she has these eyes that I've never seen before. And we'd talk and talk and talk until the sun started going down. And then the sun did go down, and her eyes would go from whatever her normal color is, probably green or something, and they'd turn violet. They would turn violet, and she would just be sitting there across the table, looking at you, talking, her arms crossed, and it would be getting darker and darker. And because I was like the lowest man on the totem pole there, I didn't want to say, does anybody realize it's nighttime now? And then we're at this old French chateau, and it's pitch black, and she's sitting there, and all I can see is her violet eyes piercing through the darkness back at me, like, this chick is a vampire. And that was the thing I found most fascinating about her, and it happened day after day. And nobody would say anything.
So it would just get dark around you.
It was pitch black.
You guys have been talking, just listening to voices in the darkness.
That's right.
And those piercing eyes.
Right.
Kat, do you think that she's fully human, or is she Arcturian mixed with
Angelina?
Yeah.
She's definitely a very interesting creature. I'm not sure that she's a vampire, but definitely something connected, maybe like a witch or something.
Yeah, she's probably like a witch.
This is how it sounds more.
Well, can I just say all women are witches to some degree?
Yeah, some just use their power and some doesn't, and it looks like she does.
That's right. I mean that. I think all women are witches.
Yeah, okay.
Whatever that means. I don't mean for evil necessarily.
No,
I don't mean for good either. I think they have a choice, and unfortunately, through failures of character, sometimes they use it for evil.
Sometimes they can launch 1,000 ships.
That's true. Although they don't do it physically because they'd rather have. Yeah, they get somebody to do it for them.
That's why they're smart like that. That's the witch's
That's
behavior. Now, on Salt, what was the original title of Salt?
It's the original title.
I know the original
It was the
title.
far-reaching philosophy of Edwin A. Salt.
Yes. And then who was the first, before Angelina came on board?
It was Tom.
Tom, otherwise known as Tom Cruise, was originally attached to, and you met with him for how long as you tailored the script to him?
Yeah, a while. We go to his his house, which was also, all these stars, they generally have, they live in Beverly Hills usually, or they live all over the world, but they have a mansion in Beverly Hills. But they also have a mansion that's a secondary one, which they just use as an office, and it's probably a tax write-off. So we would go to that one, which was on Alpine, and we would go there and work with Tom, and it was a great experience. I did it twice with Tom. Two different write-off mansions.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Now what's his work ethic like?
It's fantastic. He's fantastic. I found it incredibly inspirational working with Tom.
Yeah.
And it changed the way I worked. I mean, I was a completely different person when I sat with him and saw the intensity that he worked with and the uncompromising focus that he had on his work. It changed me. I said, oh, okay, that's how it's done. And it completely changed the way I work. And so, thank you, Tom.
I mean, this guy's been doing it since the 80s.
Like 81.
Is that the red?
Taps?
Taps,
Yeah. It's the first time I remember seeing him.
Wow.
How did you get inspiration for Salt script? What was the inspiration for that?
I remember it very well, but it's heavy for, lighthearted
Can
podcasts.
you give us the Reader's Digest version of it?
It won't be interesting unless you've seen Salt. So if you haven't seen Salt, I suggest you pause right now. You go and you rent it. No, don't go rent it. You go rent. You buy it on Amazon. Purchase it. Be sure you purchase it. And then you watch it, and you'll understand what I'm talking about. The first thing is, for people who don't write stuff, it's probably not going to be interesting. But I only write about things that I care about, that deeply move me. And I look at what deeply moves me, and I say, how do I make a movie about that? How do I turn that feeling, this really deep feeling I have, into a movie? If I can just divert for a second, I wrote a movie called Equilibrium. If you haven't seen it, it's with Christian Bale and Emily Watson. And so if you haven't watched it, pause now, again. Go purchase the movie, then come back and press continue. So, but that movie, for people who've seen it, there's a scene in it where in a world where nobody has feels anymore, they take a medication to stop feeling. Sound familiar? And he hears Beethoven. He hears music for the first time in his life. And that whole theme it was happened to be Beethoven's, the fourth movement, the beginning of the fourth movement of Beethoven's Ninth Symphony. And that came from me sitting in my office, and the fourth movement, the beginning of the fourth movement of Beethoven's Ninth Symphony, which just sounds like an orchestra tuning of its instruments, came on, and I was so deeply moved by it. And I'd heard it 1,000 times. And I said to myself, God, what would it be like if I'd never heard music before in my life? And I said, wow, I feel so deeply. How do I turn that into a movie? And so I turned it into a movie. The same thing with Salt. Salt is about, people think it's about spies, Russian spy, and Get the Spy, and blah, 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 but it's not. It's about lying in a relationship. And especially if you watch the director's cut, which they have things that they didn't have in the original cut. So the original cut, which you just bought, that's great, but now you need to pause this and go purchase on Amazon the original, the director's cut, and then come back. But it was about lying in relationships, and unfortunately I was going through a divorce with my wife. So I felt like I had not been entirely truthful with her about things in our relationship. And I felt really bad about it. And I wanted to write about it. And I said, how do I do that? I said, well, spies, because, Russian spy, for instance, comes to this country and they have to do a couple of things to create a cover story, right? They go to work low level at an intelligence agency, the CIA, for instance. They create a cover. But what else do they have to do? Well, they meet a girl, and they lie to her, and they say, I'm American, look at my fluent English, blah, blah, blah. They start a family. They have this long cover that goes years and years. And I thought, this is a way to talk about dishonesty and deception in a relationship, but more importantly, that even though you are deceptive in a relationship, it doesn't mean that the love was not real. And that's why I wrote Salt.
Wow. I got that too.
Yeah.
I actually understood that.
Yeah.
You talked about Equilibrium for a second. Let me ask you 2 questions about that. Number one, do you remember I auditioned for Equilibrium?
Yes, and I'm sorry for that. I apologize.
By the way,
I have to apologize every time I see him.
it was a great. By
It
the
was
way,
a bad mistake. Christian.
here's the
whatever
clip
happened
right
to him?
here. Look at me. Just look at this right here. Yeah, that's me in the audition. Okay, you're gonna just see that clip up there because I have that tape.
Oh.
I have that tape of my audition. You know, I remember. And it was. And by the way, I was amazing. Just look at the intensity on the face.
Yeah, we screwed up. We picked somebody who never did anything afterwards.
No, William Fichtner.
Oh,
William Fichtner, who was a great actor, who's worked nonstop before and after.
he's a really nice guy too.
He's a great guy.
That's the difference.
He's from Buffalo also.
Oh, is he?
Yeah. I saw him on a flight and going back there. But at the time when I auditioned, it was when George Clooney was tentatively attached to the movie.
He was.
Yes.
I don't know.
And then he fell out, and then and they recast, and Christian Bale came in, and Emma Watson, and
It was insane. Every actor in Hollywood auditioned for that movie.
I have the tape.
Believe it.
Even Daniel Craig auditioned for that movie.
Everybody, absolutely.
Before he was by.
Joaquin Phoenix,
Yes.
Willem Dafoe, everybody you could imagine. And I thought, being a beginning director, I thought, oh, well, that's nice. That's easy. You just write a script, and then everybody comes in and says, "Can I please be in your movie?" And I say, "This one, yes. That one, no." And I thought that's the way it was. It's not the way it is.
It's not the way it is.
It's not the way it is.
No. On a side note, because you mentioned you haven't been here in a long time at this house. Whose house did you buy?
Well, that's not interesting.
I think it's extremely interesting.
It's
extremely
I'll say it
interesting.
because I live in a place, this sort of magical, far, far away land that exists in Los Angeles. It's called Tarzana, and it's named after the second most filmed character in movie history, which is Tarzan. Now, if you don't know who the first most filmed character is, I suggest you pause this right now and you go think about it. And then when you have the answer, you come back.
Give everybody a lot of homework.
That's right. Well, we're upping the intellectual quotient on this podcast here. So it's named after Tarzan, but it's named after the writer, which is Edgar Rice Burroughs, who was my favorite writer when I was a kid, and I was obsessed with collecting and reading his books. It's a vast, vast bibliography of books, stretching from The Princess of Mars to Carson of Venus, and he did a new 39 Tarzan books and the Mutter. What does he do? He did a whole Western series, lots of stuff.
Oh, wow.
So they named Tarzana after him because he was so famous.
So let me get
and
this
I
straight.
happened to get. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
And it's the funny thing is when I was growing up, I was always called Tarzan because I had long hair. So it was been following Tarzan's been a big part of my life.
Yeah. So basically, yes.
And so I bought Johnny Weissmuller's house in
Johnny
Tarzan.
Weissmuller, yes.
And he, if
Original.
you do or do not remember, is the Tarzan that you think about when you think about Tarzan.
30s and 40s? What was
He
it?
was, I think it was the 40s and 50s.
Oh, okay.
And Louis B. Mayer, he was a 6 or 7 time Olympic swimming gold medalist. And Louis B. Mayer said, looked at him and said, "You're really a handsome kid. You should be in a movie. You should be in the pictures." Put him in the pictures just like that. The sad part was, of course, that like so many Hollywood stories, is that he died impoverished, penniless, basically. I think he was working as a bouncer in Jupiter, Florida.
Oh, wow.
So he went from the height of fame to, living in Jupiter, Florida.
Wow. That in
the
itself
80s.
is basically, so you live in Tarzan's house in Tarzana. Is basically what we got from that. And it's sad. Yeah, it's a sad story about Johnny Weissmuller. Talk about what advice would you give to a screenwriter today? Because has it changed from when you first came out here to break into the business than now? What advice would you give somebody now breaking into the business compared to what you had to do when you got it?
Wow, it's so much different. When I met you, I've known Greg, by the way, for a long time, probably longer than anybody else that I've known. I've known him since.
Well, you used to babysit, yeah.
30 years.
Yeah.
That's right, I did.
Yeah.
Back when it was legal for someone younger than you to babysit. It was weird law, but it worked in a strange way because people have different maturity rates. And so it was much different back then. I've been doing this so long, but I get more and more excited about it every day. But I'm one of the few writers, I have to say, who's been working 4 decades.
It's crazy.
In 4 decades, the 90s, the aughts, the teens,
and the 20s.
And the 20s.
And you're probably working now more than ever. Somehow it seems like you've been on this the whole time.
You learn.
Apparently, you learn the right way.
Well, that's one thing you say is to learn in the right way. First of all, learning is important, and being flexible and being elastic, not compromising, but being elastic is really important. And learning. And the interesting thing is that the business changes now faster than it ever did before. We were in the 90s and things didn't change quickly. They were established. And in the early aughts, things started changing really quick. The reasons that they made movies started changing. The accountants took over and they started directing the reasons why movies were made. as opposed to, God, this is a really great idea with a great actor. Let's go make it. They would do it all the time. They will never do that anymore. What they do is they go to the accountants and the bean counter and say, great idea. What? No. What's it based on? What comic book is it based on? How can we guarantee this is going to get a return if we pump this much of P&A into it? That's it. It doesn't matter how great the idea is at the studios. It does not matter at all. So I hate to say it, but it was very, very difficult to break in when I started. Very difficult. It's far more difficult now. And that's why there are no really new writers. There's no, you remember there were up and coming great writers all the time. Shane was one. I was one, theoretically. Not that I was great, but,
a lot of people
so many. We knew them all.
Yeah.
And there were names popping up, young people that had interesting points of view and interesting ideas. I can't think of one right now.
I mean, the biggest,
Tarantino,
but he's done. He has one more to go.
Right, but there was a time when it was like when people were part of the conversation. There's not one anymore. To go back to your original question, what's the most important thing to do? Well, I wouldn't say, but elasticity is important. An ability, an analytical mind to look around, analyze what's going on, and analyze where you can fit in, where you can sort of worm your way into the process and make yourself relevant. I have a whole other thing about that, which I'm not going to go into, which will bore everybody. But I think that the whole system is broken and antiquated to begin with. It's a system that has a firewall of managers and agents, which is standing between you, if you're standing out there as somebody who wants to get in and become a big star. That firewall will stand between you and that world. The question is, why? So your ability to be elastic and identify what you and your personal individuality and talents can bring to the picture, it has to go through this really wet blanket of agents and managers that are standing between you. And I think that's an antiquated system. And, my agents and managers are going to hate me for saying that, but I think they need to be, gotten rid of. And I think there's much more ways. I actually was thinking this morning, why not have AI read the scripts and then connect it with agents and managers who are looking, or not agents, managers, sorry, producers and studios who are looking for a certain thing. Boom, just go like that. And then we democratize the process to a certain degree. Now, I know right now you're not allowed to say the word AI in a positive way, but let's face it, the camel's nose is intent. It's coming. So there may be ways to take it to make the process more economical and make it more open to a normal guy that's sitting out there in Lafayette, Indiana, where he's written a script, and it's a great script, but he can't get through this veil of agents and managers who are there as gatekeepers. And instead, he just puts it online, the script. AI reads it, and AI, because the studios have gone and said, we're looking for something that's like this. It's like Die Hard, but it's got a little bit of this. But add some new Top Gun into it, and then boom, in about 5 seconds, AI comes and said, hey, there's this dude in Lafayette, Indiana, that wrote the perfect thing for you. And sorry, agents, sorry, managers, you're gone. And that guy who would never break through in the past is suddenly, his dream has come. I'm not saying that's the solution, but I think we're living in an antiquated system. So, two things, sorry. Yeah. So being elastic and trying to figure out, in spite of that veil of obscurity that exists, that is purposely in some ways created by managers and agents, trying to figure out where your talents best lie and aim your efforts to that, and never giving up, just undeniable thirst and hunger for what you do and never stopping 7 days a week until the day you die.
I think this way can be good not only for writers, but also for actors, who don't have a chance if they don't have a good agent or good manager, they don't have a chance to get the role. But if a company search for that particular type, it would be easier for AI to find it.
To eliminate, to sift through these massive things. Yeah. And in a way that agents, I'm never going to work again now. I mean, by the way, the studios are going to love this. Agencies will not, but it's coming. Yeah. The storm is coming. So it's better to figure it out.
You don't worry that someone's like, we don't need Kurt Wimmer. Just put in AI, write me a Kurt Wimmer script.
No, I don't worry about that. I don't worry about that at all, because first of all, if AI can write it better than me, then it deserves a job. That's one thing. And it hasn't happened yet. I'm sure AI writes some interesting concepts, but the complexity of screenwriting, which is so much about emotions It's something that's a long way off. Now, one day it may be able to do it, but that's like saying the wheel, before there was a wheel, there were people who would just pull stuff across the rocks. And then somebody invented the wheel and they're like, hey, wait a minute, whoa, this wheel thing is going to put us out of a job. Well, hey, that's progress, And it's a funny thing because they talk about AI, like, well, AI is going to write things, or if they write as good as, then the studios will just use that. I don't believe that, because then everything becomes mediocre. The audiences will rebel. A meteor crosses the sky and, triffids walk the earth, and cows can suddenly write really good screenplays. Cows are going to take our jobs, so cows need to not be allowed to write. If, it's a competition. And I just say,
The best.
we just got to write. And I'm not going to worry about cutting out the competition. If AI writes better than me, then they deserve that job. And I'll say something else. If AI one day does write as well or better than a human, then I think it deserves all the rights that a human has. Because in order to write as well or better than a human, you have to feel. And if you feel, and you're an emotional being, then you deserve all the rights. I think even creatures that don't feel like we do it deserve all the rights we have too. So this is kind of weird to me.
I don't think it's going to happen, but yeah.
Well, maybe not. I just think it's sort of this weird thing where because it's made out of silicone and steel that we have this sort of prejudice against it. I don't really get that, but that's just me.
Were you going to say something?
Yeah, how did you get your start in the film industry?
Well, it would be very different today than when I started out.
Yeah.
I mean, I started out really briefly. I mean, I was before the age of the internet. I would buy Variety and the Hollywood Reporter every day, where I had a subscription, and they would have little advertisements at the bottom that said looking for a screenplay, and I was I would cut them out,
okay.
and I would take my really bad screenplays that I'd written, and I'd laboriously go print them, and it was on a dot matrix printer, and I had to tear off the edges of
Wow.
every page, and then of course I realized I made a mistake, and then I have to reprint it and go pair all the stages, get bind it and send it off, and nothing ever happened. But it was a sort of long process of that. That doesn't apply now at all.
Maybe some advices for like rookies or...
Today, I would say one thing, and I've told you this, and that is hire yourself. You can't wait for somebody to hire you today, and you don't have to wait for somebody to hire you today. Make a movie or make a short film.
Make a
Or do a
podcast.
podcast. Do something. There's so many ways to there's so many force multipliers with modern technology to get yourself known and you don't have to be a screenwriter to make a movie anymore. You can be Logan Paul and make a movie. So there's all different ways to do it. There's no way to get through into the matrix now. There's just no way. So you have to come around from the back door like this.
So create your own future, basically.
Create your own. Hire yourself. You want to be in a movie? Write your movie and direct your own movie, because you can make it. I would say the one thing that is important is to move to Los Angeles. Move to Los Angeles because this is a concentration of creative yet desperate people.
Yeah.
So people who are desperate and they're willing to work for free or nothing. And there's actors, and they're all good. They're good. These are the people of tomorrow. But right now, they're like you. They're just here saying, okay, asking the exact same question. How do I break in? How do I break through into the matrix? So you hire yourself. You say, hey, well, I've got a screenplay, and I've got a director, or I'm a director, and I've got a little bit of money. You want to be in my film? Do you want to gaff? What do you want to do? You want to act? What is it? And let's do it. Let's go do it. And people will be like, hell yeah, that's all I've ever wanted to do. And I'll give it my weekends, or I'll give it my nights to do it. And they will. And, it's like Swingers.
Evro's movie.
And that was forever ago. Back when it cost a lot of money to make a movie.
Yeah.
That's absolutely the way to do it. Or She's Got to Have It.
Yep.
This is the way to do it, for sure. And I tell people this all the time. And they're like, yeah, well, and I say to myself, you're not going to make it. If you don't have the balls to just go do it.
Yeah, because it's a big competition.
Nobody's going to hire you until you hire yourself. And then when you hire yourself, can I just say one more thing? I do a short film or do a, half hour or whatever it is. But today what it's all about is views. It's all views. So nobody actually cares what your film is like. The first thing, they're not going to watch your movie. They might. But the first thing they're going to do is they're going to go on YouTube and they're going to look at the views. That's the first thing they're going to do. And that's maybe the last thing they're going to do. Because if it's 7, they're going to be like, okay, next. But if it's 700,000, they're going to be like, get him on the phone or her on the phone. It's really that simple. So you have to be really smart about what you make. You know, I wouldn't make The Godfather because that will require watching. But, you know, I think if you're very targeted and you make the right thing that is suitable for that media outlet, such that it will generate views, but also have some quality and a voice. If it gains views, you're gonna make it. They're gonna make it. That's it. Period.
That's how it is. That's the landscape now. You have to you have the potential to get in front of people by just taking your phone, putting it on a tripod, and getting people together and doing something.
That's
So
right.
you're right. But see, you also have this ridiculous work ethic where you churn out scripts so quickly. How many scripts a year do you think?
Well, it depends. You know, I'll do 10 a year.
I'm sorry, you heard that correctly. He'll write 10 scripts in a year.
And a couple pilots.
And a couple TV shows. Some people will say, I wrote one pilot this year. They're excited.
And some short stories.
Yeah, exactly. So you're on a different level.
And one or two epic poems. No, I'm not kidding.
No, I know. That's what I'm saying. I know this. This is ridiculous because, you know, you work so hard. And then on Friday, when I beat you in basketball, it's like I kind of feel bad because every Friday, I beat him. We've been playing for decades.
You guys need me there, so.
Exactly.
You should come there and you can be witness to his lies.
Okay.
No, you come there. We'll two of us play against you.
That would be fun.
Then I'll bring another girl
No.
to play with.
Oh, that sounds like a lot of fun.
Wait a minute.
Why don't you bring three extra girls? Let's
let's make it fair.
Why
you know?
stop there?
Why not?
Calm
Yeah.
down.
Make it fair. Here's another question I have for you about future and past. But first, Jason Stathem. You work with him a lot in the past, and you're working with him in the future. Tell the audience something that they do not know about Jason Stathem.
There's probably nothing they don't know about Jason, because the interesting thing about Jason, which is different from all of these other stars, is Jason's very much what you see is what you get. What the guy you see on the screen is Jason. He's not like
Oh, wow.
he's not like this guy who's going to act tough all the time, talking like fucking fuck yeah. He's that guy. When you turn the cameras off, there's no difference between the Guy Ritchie, lock, stock, and two smoking barrels, Jason, and the Jason that you talk to on an everyday basis. He's exactly
Really?
the same. Yeah, he is that guy. And I think, a lot of people in Hollywood, the people that graduated from Harvard and Yale, they're like, what is this curious creature who is not fake? I don't understand. I'm used to my actors who, are tough guys on screen, and then they're screaming babies the second it happens on the phone. Where's my trailer? They're not used to it. So that's something about Jason.
Wow.
He's very real.
He's exactly who you think he is.
He really is. The other person like that is Pierce.
Brosnan?
Pierce Brosnan, yeah. Pierce is also exactly the same when they turn the cameras off.
He's a lot of fun. Me, you, and him, we closed down the Thomas Crown Affair
We did.
premiere after party at the Beverly Hills Hotel. We were the last one. They had to kick us out.
So embarrassing.
Yeah.
I closed down every party I've been to. so
Yes.
it's like-
If what's that?
Pierce, no, he's an Irishman. He likes to
have fun.
have some whiskey. He'll drink.
Not afraid for,
Yeah, he's a great guy.
Yeah, he'll hang out to the end. He's such a sweet guy, too.
Right.
No airs about him.
He's a friend.
He's like Jerry, like Gerard Butler, when you work with him on Law Abiding Citizen. Jerry is, to me, I can see why he's a star. Because when we're out, everybody just flocks to him. Like I remember I was at Soho for some after party of like the Golden Globes or the Oscars, and then we're together in something, and we're leaving, we're in some stretch limo, and all these girls, they saw us and Greg, we want to come with Jerry. And instead of him like being mean, he's like, ladies, you got to talk to Greg, he'll tell you, So
right.
I'm like, hey, I'll call you guys a little bit.
My man.
But he was like completely cool. He wasn't like, get out of here, girls. Because he was almost going to let him in, but he's like, oh, you got to talk.
Well, this is the thing.
Sweetheart.
There's some stars out there that are not over it the second they're born. They're
Right.
like, oh my God, I can't stand the attention. And then there's guys like Arnold and Jerry who are really good. And that's why they're stars to a large extent, is they understand gradually they build their fan base by being kind and considerate to people. This is a big deal for a lot of people to like have a selfie with Arnold.
Oh my God, yeah.
And then there's stars. Tom's great at this. Tom's amazing at this.
Yep.
And it makes people feel that he's paying attention to them for a second of their life. And they love that. They're grateful forever. And then you've got people that are like, I'm too busy, or they'll snap at him.
Yeah.
I don't want to say names. I would never say like Russell Crowe. But,
Even Jerry he'd come to my birthday, and I remember there was a group of people. There were some beautiful girls. As soon as he walked in, all the beautiful girls they turn their head a little bit and they try to be coy. So he'd come over and talk to them, this and that. And they're all playing like this. And then there's like these average type girls, fun girls. And
wait a minute, what's an average type girl?
Well, I mean,
6'7"?
they weren't. No, she's 6. How dare you? She's 6'9". Can't
I
you
know,
tell?
but you said average, so she's exceptional. So average.
But I mean, like, yes, he would. That's how great he is. Instead of like these girls that like, oh, come talk to me.
I want to tell you something, Jerry. I love Jerry, but Jerry's also he's very smart, and he knows if all these girls, and there's a certain class of women in LA that are plying their trade. They're trading on their appearance to some extent. And he knows damn well if he goes and talks to the ordinary girl and corners her in the corner, that all those other girls are just going to want him more. Jerry's no dummy.
He's a sweetheart.
He's not a dummy.
So should we talk about Tantra or your upcoming project?
Next
question.
I don't know.
Tantra or
I was
upcoming
joking
project?
about tantric sex. I don't even know what it is, to be honest. It's just something I heard.
Now I'm upset. Okay.
I know.
Well, let's talk about
but we can make it up.
Yeah, no.
We can just invent it ourselves right here.
No, let's talk about upcoming project. If there are some.
Not really.
You have
Okay,
two coming up.
gotta
What are you
get-
talking about?
Okay, but we got Expendables coming out.
I hate to break this to you. You're the guest.
I know, but it's more interesting.
Where's the casting, right?
Exactly. You say that again. What
So
do
we
you
have
have coming up?
Expendables 4 coming out on
Expendables.
September 22nd, I think.
Yes, September 22nd, my brother's birthday. September 20th. Expendables 4 with Stallone and Jason Statham and who else in that movie? Megan Fox?
50 Cents.
50 Cent?
Megan Fox.
Yes.
Oh,
Dolph?
yeah.
Dolph Lundgren?
Always one of my favorites.
Yes.
I've seen the trailer a couple days ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
See?
it's out.
And she sees nothing. And
No,
she
I
saw
saw the
yours.
trailer,
Yes, that means something. She saw
Well,
it.
it's interesting that they penetrate to you. The marketing is penetrating to you.
Where did you see it on? What
It's-
platform?
No, it was in a cinema.
Oh,
Oh,
no,
that's-
movie. Oh, okay, gotcha.
On what?
Screen. Oh, I went to Transformers.
Oh, okay.
You did what?
Transformers.
Sorry, Lorenzo.
I have a kid. I had to go.
Okay.
Yeah, and it was good actually. I did not
Really?
expect.
Wow.
Yes.
Yeah.
It
Wow.
was really good.
It did well.
Didn't see any advertising for that movie, and then all of a sudden it's.
Well, that's the marketing penetration. I mean, that's the interesting.
I'm not
That's why
sure.
I'm so interested that they penetrated her. But now I know why. They were really targeting her son,
Yes.
right? Yeah.
I don't
Oh no,
know.
without a doubt, because you
Yeah.
went to see Transformers because of him.
Yeah.
Had you not gone to see that, you would have never in your life seen the
Yeah,
Expendables
yeah.
4 trailer.
Yeah.
So they were really targeting your son, and you were collateral damage.
Mm-hmm. Well, is it bad or good?
No,
it's not.
But you
it's
she
good.
enjoyed the movie, so it's good.
It's good for Expendables because they're like, wow, we got a 6'9" Russian girl, which we
Yes.
rarely get.
Yes, yeah, the most 6'8". And you have one more movie coming out after that. What's that one? No,
Why are you
the
doing this?
following. I'm I'm
Why are you
saying.
wishing
I mean,
this on me?
soon thereafter.
Ricky Bobby, don't put that evil on me. One more movie, and then you're done.
Exactly.
Wow.
What's following Expendables
The
4?
Beekeeper, we're not sure when it's coming out yet. The
Okay.
Beekeeper with Jason, David Ayer.
Okay, but Jason
directed it.
Statham, yes. Some
Yeah.
people, say Jason and Tom. They're not as hip as you that know everybody on a first name basis. I have Oprah. Oh, which Oprah is that? Oprah Williams? No, Oprah Winfrey. Oh, that Oprah. Okay.
There's a few like Arnold, Tom. I don't know Tom. I think Tom.
Yeah.
People know who you're talking about. You're not talking about
Yeah.
Jason Momoa too.
Yes, you met with Jason. You met with everybody. You met with Schwarzenegger. You met with Jason Momoa. You met with everybody. Spielberg. You had meetings with everybody. You're on their first name basis with them. We're not.
Spiely. No, I don't think so.
Spiel baby. Well, that's pretty impressive that you have all those things come up, and even more on top of that. Because again, when you do 10 scripts a year,
When I met Spielberg, I said, "Did you know your name means play mountain in German?"
what did he say about
No,
that?
I'm just joking. I didn't say that, but it is true. I just thought of that. It occurred to me. That's what his name means in German. Like,
When I meet Spielberg, I'm going to say one thing. I'm going to say, "Oh my God, I saw you in Blues Brothers. What a great actor. Have you done anything since?"
oh, really?
Yeah.
I'm not going to repeat now my Pacino story.
Tell me about your Pacino story.
No, I can't do that.
My last question to you, because we have to wrap this up. What is it like when you have people like, Academy Award winners, Al Pacino, Dustin Hoffman, Angelina Jolie, Tom, when these people are saying the words that you write down, how does that feel to see these words come out? Do you expect that?
It's an interesting question because when I started out my career, that's all I wanted was like, oh my God, I want somebody to say my words. I want to hear it. But then after a certain period of time, it becomes slightly banal, particularly after you direct and you do a take and you're like, I'm changing those words. And you realize that the words aren't that important. I mean, they're not, a lot of people out there would say, yeah, in your movies, they're not. But I'm not David Mamet either, am I? They used to be more important, weirdly enough. I mean, if you remember, there was a time when people talked about dialogue.
Yeah.
They used to talk about, oh, this dialogue is so good. Tarantino, for instance. They used to talk about, and like Scott Rosenberg. He was, people said, oh, his dialogue's so good. And I'm not saying it wasn't. It was.
Yeah.
And but nobody talks about that anymore. I have not heard anybody say, there's this guy. He's not good at structure, but man, his dialogue is so good. It just snaps. I can't remember the last time I saw it. Dialogue is a tool to progress the understanding of character and plot and entertain. Those three things simultaneously. So it reveals about the character, it's entertaining, hopefully, and it furthers the plot without you knowing it. It's like medicine goes down better with a spoonful of honey. I find myself not, oh my God, they're saying my words, as opposed to, is this adequately or to the best of its ability conveying those three things? And if it's imperfect, in even the slightest way, like if one word is obscure or it could have expressed it in a better way, I get upset, frankly, at myself. Like, God, I should have written that better. I should have done it. Or can we change it? If I'm directing it, I'll change it on the spot. If not, I'll see if we can change it in post to drive home the point better.
You're such a director in your mind that you don't even care who's saying the words as long as they're sounding like they're supposed to sound.
Well, I like
convey the stuff you did.
Well, that's not 100% true. I do care because there's a reason why really great actors are great actors, and they say them really well. You know, like for instance, a movie I just made called Beekeeper. I don't think there's anybody in the world who could have done it better than Jason. So there's that. You know, we could have had even other great action stars. Say Ryan Reynolds. It would have been a different performance, and I'm not sure it would have been the same,
right?
And he would have fulfilled it in the same way. So I do care about who it is. My point is, it's not just like, oh my God, they're saying my words. That's really secondary or tertiary at this point.
Who, if you had to choose one person to travel throughout Europe with, who would that be?
It's a final question.
There's a guy named whose ass I beat every week in basketball. You may never heard of him. His name is Greg Lindsay. And he's like a great travel companion because he never falls asleep in the passenger seat. He doesn't have passenger syndrome, not that you do. But some people have passenger seat syndrome. And the second the car starts, they're out. But he's not. He's great, and he can read a map. So perfect traveling companion. And he likes to eat candy. So we could stop at those wonderful gas stations they have in Switzerland or Italy, stock up on several pounds of candy, put it on the dashboard, and go.
And we eat. There's tons of sugar in this that keeps us going for hundreds and thousands of miles throughout Europe.
Well, not hundreds of thousands, but
hundreds
of miles. Yeah.
Thousands.
And hundreds and thousands.
And you also forgot one very important thing. I also can sing every single song that comes on the radio.
It's true. It's
Word
weird.
perfect.
It's so weird. It's so weird. I always say it's empty. There's nothing in the head.
Nope. Just musical knowledge.
Are you good at that?
Yeah.
Well,
she's a karaoke singer at times, and she likes to sing karaoke.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, let's thank Kurt Wimmer for being with us. I hope you guys learned a lot. I learned a lot, and I've known the guy forever. He used to babysit me.
Thank you. When I was a baby. That's why they call it babysitting. When a baby comes over to sit for a much older person.
Yes, that's exactly. All right. Hey, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you. Kat, I do this every time. We're done.
That's a wrap.
Can't you guys let me hang?
Oh, yes. All right.